Nope, I'm not gonna do it, guys. Last time I tried it, I almost got kicked out of my house. Oh, okay, fine. Let me give it a shot. Oh, great. I'll pack my bags. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today I'm diving into my spoiler-free thoughts on Mortal Kombat, the 2021 film, one of my more anticipated movies of the year, so I'm excited to talk about it. Thank you so much to Warner Brothers for giving us a screener of this film. Wow, let me tell y'all, seeing it in theaters probably did make a difference, but did it make enough of a difference? And is this film rising up to my expectations, or did it disappoint? I'll answer all that and so much more. But guys, before we get into it, if it's your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I talk about movies like this all the time. So if you want more early reviews, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, and smash that like button. Guys, get loud in the comments as well. I want to know if you've seen this movie, which is now in theaters and on HBO Max. Let me know what you think of it. Did you enjoy it? Is it something that's better than the 1995 film? Spoiler alert. It is. So if you don't know much about the story, guys, it surrounds an MMA fighter named Cole Young, who has a mysterious dragon marking that now makes him one of Earth's champions. All of these champions must gather, train, and stop Shang Tsung before he destroys Earth and all of its people. And you know what? I'll be honest with you guys, the first thing that jumped off the page to me was that entire opening sequence. It showcases what to expect from the film, which are some solid action sequences, but I did love how they dove into Hanzo Hasashi's story with Bi-Han, otherwise known as Scorpion, and Sub-Zero. I love both of those fighters. Scorpion is my favorite Mortal Kombat fighter, and seeing them dive into this very cinematic approach to this video game adaptation, I thought it worked really well, and I was actually hoping the rest of the film would feel the same way. Honestly, guys, Scorpion and Sub-Zero have the best moments together, and their storyline was the most well-rounded area of the film. As for the rest of the movie, I did think that there were some really awesome hand-to-hand combat scenes, especially with Liu Kang, and I loved how they introduced characters like Raiden. They did a much better job here than they did in the 1995 movie. Now, not everything worked, and we'll talk about that soon, but for the most part, I do think that the fighting was really well done. And the violence was definitely taken up a notch compared to the 1995 film, including the fatalities that were incredibly bloody. I mean, Kung Lao, what the heck? But if you're sitting down for Mortal Kombat this weekend, you're most likely a fan of the franchise, and if you are, the movie has a lot of moments that will cater to you. If you thought Get Over Here in the trailer was the only bit of fan service, you're wrong. It got Kano wins, flawless victory. There's so much to dive into, and a lot of little bits of dialogue that made me reminiscent of the 1995 film, but not enough to where I was thinking, okay, this is just a carbon copy. It did a good job at kind of distinguishing itself, and it actually worked in this area. Now, there were other areas that didn't work, kind of like the humor, but again, we'll dive into that soon. And they also nailed certain characters and their designs, like Liu Kang, Kung Lao, and Milena. Now, what I will say about Liu Kang is that his wig was a little distracting, I won't lie to you. It didn't really work for me, but it wasn't a deal breaker. But of course, this movie isn't just fighting 24/7. There's a lot of dialogue, and it's very cheesy, which I expected. But there's only one actor that actually nails it, and that's McQuoid Brooks as Jax. I know he's not in the film a lot, but when he is and he delivers these awesome one-liners, I don't know what it is, it made me smile. It was one of the few moments that actually resonated a feeling out of me, and I loved how he just really dove into that sea-level action dialogue and made it so good. Now, that's not to say that the other actors were bad, but I don't feel like those moments worked as well as they could have with everyone else. And technically speaking, guys, this film, even though I did see it in a Dolby Theater at AMC, it had great sound design, the set pieces looked really good, and the costumes were just aces. I'm gonna go back to that opening sequence, and again, the sights, sounds, the gusts of wind, the leaves rustling, it was just magnificent at times. And the score by Benjamin Wallfish was just unreal. It's actually my favorite score of the year so far, and I should have come to expect that. He composed the music for Blade Runner 2049, but in this film, it just fit every mood. Serious, high energy. You had moments that were maybe a little mysterious and ominous, and he just brought it home, especially towards the end. Even though I'm not a big fan of this remixed theme from the previous films, I don't like the techno beats as much. I think they're a little too overbearing, but I loved his score, and it just really worked for me. But guys, even though that sounds all good and well, there are some things about Mortal Kombat that just really fell flat. And this is gonna sound weird, especially when it comes to a film like Mortal Kombat, but nothing on screen really made me feel anything. I was expecting to feel moments of nostalgia, a lot of hype, but honestly, from start to finish, I just never got excited. The action, which is very gruesome at times, didn't really land for me, and it's weird, maybe I'm desensitized to the nature of Mortal Kombat, but not even the fatalities felt as strong. Even though there were only a few, they were kind of weak. There's hardly any proper build up to some of the more crucial scenes, and I don't think that the CGI does the movie justice either, especially with Prince Goro and Reptile. I don't know what it is. When they're in low lighting situations, fine, but you get them in something where you can see every detail or lack of detail. Oh my gosh, it does not look good. It almost looked like there were areas of the film that were crafted with the last bits of production budget, and that definitely distracted me from the overall film. And while there were some awesome performances here, like actor Joe Taslim, who plays Sub-Zero, I don't know what it is, I just really bought into his performance. I think the rest of the cast is a little hit and miss. Louis Tan is fine, but his character as Cole Young is very bland. I get that he was supposed to be more of an unassuming character. He's an MMA fighter who's on the end of his career, once held, I guess, some sort of prominence in the sport, but after that he just kind of fell off. And I don't know, they rushed through his origin story a little bit, and while he is the centerpiece of this film's narrative, it didn't really feel like they properly executed his story. And not only did his origin story not captivate me, they didn't give him a lot of good dialogue either. It felt a little bit cheap, and it is a shame because I was looking forward to seeing them introduce a new fighter into this franchise. Speaking of writing, guys, it's very, very bad in this film. There's an overemphasis on the wrong areas of Mortal Kombat. When diving into the lore, I loved it, but everything else was rushed and poorly executed. This includes the humor, if you can call it that. There are jokes in this film that are, I guess, it's trying to appeal to a Western audience, but it doesn't work, and they all come via Kano. I don't think that Josh Lawson, who actually plays the character of Kano, is a terrible actor, but the script gives him a joke with every single line of dialogue, and then the movie spends an insane amount of time in the first and second acts trying to get its audience to laugh. I came to expect him using a lot of profanity and being a very vulgar character, but honestly, none of it even gave me a chuckle. I just think that Kano was clearly and far and away the worst part of Mortal Kombat. Even his gripe with Sonya Blade, who's played by Jessica McNamee, was really boring too. And speaking of Sonya Blade, man, they had something there with her and Cole Young, but again, the movie just kind of breezes through it. And that brings me to my next negative, which is the transitions between Earth and the other realms and the intercuts between storylines and characters really never flowed well. This goes back to the writing, honestly, where it just skirts around some crucial moments of character development, and there were times where I'm sitting in my seat and I blink once and they've already went through a conversation between Louis Tan and Jessica McNamee. And I'm thinking to myself, guys, these characters that they're playing clearly have to have some sort of trust built between them, and it almost feels like they just expect the audience to forget about it, and by the end, if they're fighting together, they're best of friends. No, if they're going to make a sort of, I guess, focus on that, they need to actually execute it much better. So overall, you guys, Mortal Kombat is one film where if you turn your brain off, you grab your bucket of popcorn, you're sitting in your seat, and for almost 2 hours, you're just locked into a film where you only expect blood and gore, you'd probably be happy with this film. It might not disappoint you, but for me, Mortal Kombat definitely was a disappointment. I already knew that this film wasn't going to deliver really good dialogue, but at least make it worthwhile. Instead, the movie was really a chore to get through during some scenes, and I hated all of the humor, the writing. It really did not work, and I get it. They're going to make a sequel to this film. We're getting some legendary characters in the sequel. They teased one of them at the end of the film, but I never really fell in love with this film. I would even go as far as to say you don't need to see this in a Dolby theater. Yes, the sound design is awesome. Everything does look better on the big screen. But if you saw this at home, I don't think you'd be losing out on too much of the experience versus seeing it in theaters. There were fans cheering in our press screening, right? But even then, I never got too excited because I wasn't even engrossed in this movie. There are just too many moments that serve as a disconnect rather than something to really get me involved in the plot. And man, if we just got an entire movie focused on Sub-Zero and Scorpion, I think we would have been much better off. So if you had to ask me, guys, Mortal Kombat definitely gets a very low 3 out of 5 stars. It's not a film I would recommend you rushing out for. So if you're a fan of the movie, I know you're going to see it anyway. You should see this if you love the video games. But if you're not a die-hard Mortal Kombat fan, this is something that I think you can maybe watch at home instead of just rushing to the theater. So there you have it, you guys. That is my real review of Mortal Kombat, but I need to know what you guys think of this film in the comments down below. Do you agree with me? What were your positives? What were your negatives? Which character was your favorite? I'm still going Scorpion. I'm sorry. All right, that character is insane in this film, and I loved that moment he had with Sub-Zero towards the one part of the film, which I'm not going to tell you because it's a spoiler-free review. And guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on that bell so you'll be the first one in the comments for any of my reviews in the future, because we got a lot more coming. I got my Invincible Episode 7 reaction dropping this weekend, an interview with one of the Flag Smashers from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and hey, we just got done reacting to the series finale for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so you guys don't want to miss out on that on the channel. Alrighty, y'all, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening. Notice how I only said flawless victory once. Okay, I think I did a good job.